Hi, and welcome to Morning Coffee with Pisan Academy. I'm Deanna, and it's Great Books Monday. Have you ever read a book that you were just absolutely delighted with from cover to cover? From the first page you started reading, you were completely just caught up already with the setting and the characters, and it didn't subside until the end of the book. Well, that's the experience I just had in reading a work by Mark Twain that I had never read. Now, I've read quite a bit of Twain, his books for children like Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer, also some other books that he's written in short stories that are more geared towards adults, but I had never read The Prince and the Pauper. I'd seen the Disney cartoon, I'm sure, when I was a kid, but I'd never read the novel. So for the February curriculum, I put a unit together on The Prince and the Pauper for our middle school program, and it was an enchanting novel. From the very beginning, I was just completely drawn in. Mark Twain's writing, which I absolutely love anyway, was just so rich and full of life. So this was his first attempt at writing historic fiction. Now, Mark Twain grew up in a small town in Missouri, Hannibal, Missouri, and it was a place where the steamboats on the river would stop by 3 or 4 a day, and he was fascinated by this. Now, it was also a little bit of a rough place. As a kid, he actually saw a couple of different people get killed, and so these are the types of things that really influenced him as a child. His dream, though, was to become a steamboat captain. And so he finally, after having some jobs, he worked for his brother's paper as an editor and a writer, but it was a steamboat captain that he really wanted to be. And so he finally got that opportunity. In 1861, the American Civil War broke out, and so the steamships on the Mississippi River came to a halt. There were no more passenger ships to pilot. So Mark Twain headed west to Virginia City, Nevada, and to around San Francisco in California, and he wanted to work as a gold prospector. So he did that for a while, and when money ran out, he went and worked at a newspaper. Some of his stories got picked up by other papers around the nation. One of these is one of his most famous short stories called The Jumping Frog from Calaveras County, and this really started getting him some notoriety. He then left and went on a 5-month Mediterranean cruise where he wrote some short stories about that experience, and those were published together in what's called Travels Abroad. By the time we get to The Prince and the Pauper, it has been 20 years. It was first published in Canada in 1881 and published in the U.S. in 1882. Now, he did a lot of research for this book. Even throughout the story, he'll bring in some primary sources. The book itself is set in 1547, or as he describes it, the second quarter of the 16th century. And it is about Henry VIII's son, Edward VI. And it's the time frame where Edward VI, right before Henry VIII dies, is being groomed to be the next king. This young boy is crowned king when he's 9 years old. That is a historic fact, and that's what happens in the novel. So as you're reading this experience about this young boy who is a prince, on the same day that he is born in London, Twain juxtapositions the noble life of the prince with a pauper named Tom. Now, Tom's father is an alcoholic. He lives in a very abusive family. Luckily, his mother and his sisters try to shield him a little bit from that. And really fortunately, there is a priest who lives in his building, Father Andrews. And so he teaches Tom how to read, how to write, how to read Latin. And so Tom is quite learned for being a boy of this station in life. Now, his father is a thief and a beggar and makes the family go out and do these acts as well to help support the family. If Tom comes back empty-handed, then he is beaten. It's a horrible life for Tom. And so he finds solace by hanging out with Father Andrews and learning and becoming very learned. And as we see him in his life in this very impoverished area of London, we see that he has a pretty active imagination. And as he's learning about royalty, and he actually starts holding court in a way amongst his own people. Now, what happens is that he has this dream of seeing a real prince, and he keeps walking, and he ends up at the palace. And I don't want to give too much away, but the boys end up changing places. And what is so remarkable about this story is how Mark Twain interjects this amazing opportunity for both boys once they've changed places. These children have an opportunity to see things in a different light, to grow themselves. And throughout the book, there is this sort of moral tale that is being told. It is so amazing. I could just not put it down, and I was so excited to read the next chapter, and I'm really looking forward to sharing it with kids that I know and even adults, because it was really, I think the best word for it for me was enchanting. So if you haven't read Prince and the Pauper, or if you've only seen a movie, there was a movie that was done in early Hollywood. Errol Flynn was in it. There's the Disney cartoon, but I don't think that they do the book justice. Mark Twain pulling in actual primary sources to describe a banquet that Tom, as the prince, is there. And it's just remarkable, the amount of research that he did. Now, Mark Twain also wrote a historic novel, which I will be reading very shortly, about Joan of Arc. And he spent 12 years doing research on this novel. I'm very excited to read that. So I will report back to you once I've read that and let you know how I enjoyed that. But Mark Twain personally thought it was his best work. He was most proud of that work that he wrote about Joan of Arc. So I hope you do pick up The Prince and the Pauper, and even if you read it when you were a kid, maybe reread it and see how your appreciation or your understanding of the novel changes, because as we, experience life, then we see things a little differently. And as an adult, it was just such a rich experience that I thoroughly enjoyed. If you appreciate our videos, please like them, share them with your friends, hit that notification bell, and check out our other social media in the links below. We will put a link to the Gutenberg Prince and the Pauper in the description below as well. Have a great day and happy reading!